Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our launch event for OnTime 11. We're very excited about it. We're going to switch over to a quick presentation. Of course, we're all here for the Axosoft OnTime 11 launch, so thank you very much for coming. We're also live streaming it on the website, and there's over 100 viewers right now watching this event live on Axosoft.com. So welcome to those viewers. Thank you for being with us. We're very excited. There's three major announcements that we have today that we want to talk about. The first one is, of course, the OnTime 11 launch. This is the largest, best, biggest product we've ever made at Axosoft, and we're very excited about it. And I'm actually excited to show you the details. I'm going to actually demo some of the product. But before we get into the details of OnTime 11, I want to talk a little bit about Axosoft's development philosophy. Our mantra at Axosoft has always been to help our customers ship software on time. That's why we exist. We help our customers, software developers, deliver their software on time. And we've been successful because we've been able to deliver on that promise. And we have a little bit of a different philosophy on that, and that's what I want to talk about briefly before we get into the product. In order to ship software on time, you actually have to create software. And to create software, you actually have to write code. It turns out you can not do everything else about software development. You cannot use tools, you cannot have meetings, you can not do everything else, and not use a software development methodology for that matter. And you can still deliver software if you write code. But if you don't write code, you can't have a product, right? So it's indisputable that writing code is the single most important aspect of software development. So the way we look at this is slightly different because we create actually a project management tool. And from a project management tool's perspective, this is not the most productive part of software development. So our view on this is slightly different than maybe most other competitors in the field, in that our goal is to have you spend as little time as possible in your project management tool so that you can be spending as much time as possible doing the productive aspects of software development, which is writing code. So our goal is actually to stay out of the way of the software engineer so that they can focus on writing code. And with OnTime 11, we wanted to do that as much as possible. So performance, ease of use became critical aspects of our design goals and the elements that we were shooting for OnTime 11. So for this presentation, what I've done is I've put together a quick number of tasks that software engineers and project managers and scrum masters commonly do in software development. And what I want to do is talk about those tasks. So a software engineer comes to work in the morning, and the first thing that they need to find out what to do is, hey, what's on my plate so that I can pick up the next task that I want to work on. So being able to quickly identify the items that are on your plate becomes sort of an important common task that software developers do. Then being able to, they're working along and they see that there's a piece of functionality that is undocumented, right? There's some bug in the system that might not be in their own code, but it's something that needs to be logged so that it doesn't slip through the cracks and somebody else can take a look at it. So logging a new bug is a pretty common task in the sort of everyday, day-to-day activities of a software engineer. Marking an item ready for testing, so moving it along on the workflow to make sure that, hey, this item, I'm done working on it, I think it's completed. Now I need to move it on to QA so that the QA team can also verify that this item is indeed developed in the way that it was expected to be developed. So the bug has been fixed and somebody else can put a stamp of approval on it. So marking an item ready for testing is a pretty common task. Then, of course, they're moving along and they're sort of working, and the software, the tester comes up to them and says, hey, you know that item number 2940 that you just sent over for testing, what about this, that, or the other in that item? And they're thinking, item number 2940, I'm already 10 items past that item. I don't know what you're talking about. So they need to be able to search and quickly find a particular item that's a topic of discussion. So these are things that are commonly coming up in the everyday, day-to-day activities of a software engineer. Software engineers unfortunately get interrupted quite frequently. Their boss comes into the room and says something. They say, hey, have you seen this Google Plus thing? And we need to figure out a way to integrate with Google Plus. And now you have this additional sort of notes that you need to take. And what do? You whip up Notepad or some sort of text editor to write up a bunch of notes, and you have notes all over your file system. That's a very common activity that software engineers go through on a day-to-day basis. So writing a quick note becomes a common task. Logging work. Now you're closer to the end of your day, you need to be able to say, hey, I've worked 2 hours on this, 4 hours on that. Maybe you're billing your customers based on the amount of work that you're logging. Or maybe you're making sure that your burndown chart is going to be up to date and showing the appropriate sort of burndown and velocity as work is getting done. So you want to make sure that the work that you've been doing on a day-to-day basis is logged. So logging work is a common task. And of course, seeing where you are, actually monitoring the progress of the sprint, of the release, to determine whether or not you can actually ship software on the schedule, on time that you have determined, on the goal that you've determined. Is that a realistic possibility or not? So monitoring the progress of a particular sprint, release, or of the product becomes a very common task. So these are 7 common tasks that are commonly performed in a project management tool by a software engineer that are not coding related. Now remember, we're trying to get software engineers to focus on coding as much as possible because that's the part that actually produces software. So we want to minimize the amount of time these common tasks take in the project management tool. So I want to demo how these tasks are done in OnTime. So I'm going to switch over to OnTime here. And here is me logged into a sort of a sample database in OnTime. And this sample database contains a whole bunch of items. And as you can see, there's a ton of stuff in the system. But how do I find the stuff that's on my plate right now that I need to determine what to work on next? So those are the things we want to optimize for. So here we have the assign to column, as you can see, in here. And I can come over here and filter the assignees so that I'm just looking at the items that belong to me. Still, that list is pretty long. So now we want to see what are the things that belong to me that I need to work on for a given release. So my releases are actually provided to me on the left over here. And if I click on a release, and I'm not going to do so until I zoom out, you can immediately see that our system updates the list so that you can see the list of tasks that are assigned to me for a given sprint. So now this is a much more manageable task list that I can work with. So what items should I work on? Well, one thing is, let's see what the state of these items are. So I'm going to group by the workflow step, and all I did is I right-clicked on the group, the workflow step column, and I say group by the workflow step, and now I can see my items grouped by the appropriate workflow step. And I can see, actually, these are the only 4 items that I need to worry about. So I can hit enter on an item, look at the details, hit J, and go to next, next, previous, by hitting K. Go back up to my list, and these types of tasks are so immediate that you don't even have to think about it. So now, let's go ahead and sort by priority so that I can see my top priority items at the top. They're also indicated by a little red band on the left here. So I can pick an item that I want to work on and move it along on the workflow and say, okay, this item is now being fixed by me, and I'm going to start working on it. So that's task number 1. Now, it may seem like I did a bunch of stuff in order to be able to just move an item along the workflow, but the reality is that the next time I come into my OnTime system, it's going to provide me with the exact same view that I left with. So when I come in the mornings, this is the view that I'm going to have with just a manageable task list. And all I would have had to do is click on an item, go to workflow, and click being fixed. And that's how I can start working on my next to-do item on my plate. So that is a very easy way to get a common task done. So now I'm working along, and of course I identify a bug, and it's not my code, obviously. I never write bugs. So all I do is I hit the letter C, and I can immediately, I want to do that again so you can see how quick that is. I'm going to hit the letter C now, and immediately I can start typing the name of the bug. And I've learned to actually type what I say because it's virtually impossible to say something different than what you're typing. So here is a description of the bug. And maybe we want to put in some repro steps. So I'll put a numbered list here. So do this, do that. Notice the crash. So that quickly, I have logged a new bug. There's the new bug that I've logged at the very top here. So what if I have a screenshot that can go along with this bug? How could I get that screenshot into that system so that the person looking at this item could have a better feel for it? So I have here another tab that contains the bug that I want to take a screenshot of. It happens to be IE. IE itself is a bug. So let's go ahead and take a screenshot of that. And this is the screenshot I want to take. And I saved it to my desktop automatically here. So let's go ahead and get out of full screen mode, switch over to the OnTime tab. And what would be great is if I could just drag this screenshot that I just took. This is the screenshot. If I could just drag this screenshot and drop it into the attachments list for that item, and it would just attach it automatically. And boom, there it is. It's already attached. There's a preview of it. I can double click the screenshot and see it in my OnTime system. And so can everybody else who's using the product. So that's how easy it is to add a new defect and an attachment so that you can sort of go back to focus on coding. So now I'm again coding along, and I'm ready to move this item that I've been working on since this morning, ready for testing. Now notice it's in the being fixed state over here, and now I want to do a couple of things. I want to say I'm done with this item. I've already tested it, but I also want to reassign this item to our QA department so that the QA department can take a look at it. And I want to make sure that an email notification gets sent to the appropriate person in QA so that they can be notified that, hey, there's an item on your plate that you need to take a look at. So I come over here, I select the item simply by clicking on it. I go to workflow and I say, this item is now ready for testing. Now, notice what happens. With an immediate refresh, the item got removed from my list because I've filtered my list down to the items that belong to just me, that the assigned to is me. And now the item has automatically been reassigned to somebody else based on the workflow step. So that person who it got assigned to received an email notification, and the workflow of that item has also been updated, the state of the item has been updated, and all I had to do is one click, I'm back to coding. So I'm happy as a software engineer. The project management tool is not getting in my way of staying focused on software development. So now, again, I'm interrupted by the QA person who says, hey, that item number 8 that you just moved over to QA, what about these aspects of that item? Can you bring it up so we can look at it? And of course, item number 8 is nowhere on my list. So how do I find it? I just hit the keyboard shortcuts, which, by the way, you can get the keyboard shortcuts at any time by simply hitting question mark. So you get a keyboard shortcut list, and this is not a whole other page. If you just hit escape, you're exactly where you left off. You hit question mark, and you get the keyboard shortcuts. But you hit the keyboard shortcuts V and D, and view item, view defect item comes up, and I can hit item number 8, and boom, pull up item number 8 that quickly. And now we're in a conversation about item number 8 with the QA person without me having to get rid of my current state of view and the things that are on my plate. So now, this time, my boss is interrupting me, and he says, hey, have you checked out that Google Plus thing? We need to integrate with it. So I want to make a quick note here in my Scratchpad inside of OnTime, and I say, make sure to check out Google Plus and look at integration options. So that's a quick note that I want to make and get rid of my notepad so that it doesn't sort of stick around. But I want that note to be saved because if I close my application, I don't want to have to worry about it. I also don't want to have to name my notes. So I made that note, I'm back into coding, and I'm sort of done. I don't have to think about it again. And the next time I do want to think about it, I bring up my Scratchpad, and there's the note that I took. There's the previous notes that I've taken. I can rename a note. So this note I took at right now pretty much at 11:43 a.m., but I can rename it and say this is a Google Plus related note, so that I can immediately come back to my Scratchpad and see what's going on. And this Scratchpad simply sits on top of the OnTime environment so that you can easily take notes and get rid of it. But you can also pop it out into its own window if you prefer. And you don't ever have to worry about saving anything because it's automatically saved, and you can just get rid of it when you don't want to and pull it back up into the main OnTime environment, and it's always there. So making a note is now a very efficient thing to do as a software engineer, and you can go back to writing code. So now I'm getting closer to the end of my day, and I want to be able to log some work. So if there's some items that I want to log work on, I could have the log work as part of my workflow so that when I put an item into ready for testing, it can automatically ask me about logging work. Or I can manually come in here and say, okay, this is an item that I worked on earlier today, and I now want to log an additional amount of work on it. And you can see if I add an additional amount of work on it and say I worked on it for 4 hours, it marks the item pretty much complete with 0 time remaining. And you can see if I change the amount of work that I'm doing, it gives the original estimates, the actual work, and how much still remains. So you have a very good indication of where you are in that process. So let's go ahead and save an additional 4 hours of work for that item and continue on with our sort of day-to-day tasks. So where are we with this sprint? We have a release that we're working towards, and this release, we're currently working on sprint 1. But how are we doing on this sprint 1? Are we on track? Are we going to be late? That's a very important question, and not one that most software development teams can answer very quickly or easily. Unfortunately, that's a very important aspect of software development. Now, writing code might be the most important aspect of software development, but the necessary evil of sort of determining where you are, what things are on your plate, making sure things don't fall through the cracks, are the necessary things that help create great products. So one, you can create product by simply writing code, but to create great products, you actually have to do some additional overhead-related items that you want to minimize. So one cool thing that we've built into OnTime is this Burndown chart capability that's immediately visible by clicking on this graph button here. So I haven't clicked on it yet. I just want to show it to you first. So clicking on it immediately loads a Burndown chart for me. And I can see exactly where I've been during this sprint over the past several days. And I can see, wow, I was doing really good over here until this day right here, where I started adding a bunch of work on my plate. So you can see what things are going wrong, and you can see what kind of progress you're making. If we hover over to this white area, we can also see some trending data here. So that trending data shows us that the due date on this was 7/11, but the estimated completion based on the slope of that graph, based on how much work we're getting done on a day-to-day basis, appears to be that we're not going to get done until 7/31. So we're actually going to be 20 days late. How many people would kill to know that kind of information on their software projects, to know that your release is going to be 20 days late, or if it's going to be on time, or if you're going to be early? That type of information is generally given on 7/11, where you're like, wow, we're not done yet, and it was due today. So that's typically the way software development teams operate, unfortunately. But this is the kind of information that could be rapidly accessible when things are smooth, when everybody's using the tool, but the tool is not creating friction for the software engineers so that they simply bypass the tool altogether. And here on the right-hand side, we have a burn up chart that shows us the amount of work that is being done and logged into the system on a day-to-day basis. So pretty exciting stuff. We've pretty much identified the 7 common tasks that, or gone through the 7 common tasks that we had identified earlier on the plate of a software engineer. So let's go back to the presentation, and that's pretty much the first announcement that we had, is that OnTime, and we're very excited about it. And we're always trying to make OnTime as accessible as possible, which brings us to the second thing that I want to talk about. And I'm going to turn mirroring off for just a second so I have a better slide presentation for myself. So we're always always trying to make OnTime as accessible as possible by lowering the barrier to entry for the product. And one of the things we've done traditionally is to make OnTime free for a single user install. So if you were a one user install and you wanted to host OnTime on your own server in your own environment, you could download it from our website. We'd give you a free single user product activation key, and you can just continue using it. That's been very, very popular. Tens of thousands of people have been using the product in that way. And we decided to sort of build on that success and make, instead of a single user free, 100% free for 2 users. We're announcing that as of today. So you can actually get a 2-user version of OnTime free, but in addition to being able to install it in your own environment, we're going to host the free version in our hosting environment as well, which is an enterprise-ready 9 data centers across the globe. We have 6 data centers in the US, 1 in Canada, 1 in Australia, and 1 in Europe, so that customers all over the globe can actually have access to sign up for a data center that's closest to them based on what performs best for them, really. And we have speed performance tests to each data center. And if you're a 2-user team or two-person operation, you can actually use the product indefinitely for free. It's not for a limited time or anything. Just like our single user has been free since the inception of the company, the 2-user is going to continue to be free ongoing. And in the hosted environment, you're now getting it professionally hosted for free as well. So you can be up and running in 30 seconds. One other thing I want to mention about the 2-user is that the way we count users, we actually don't count the admin user. So the reality is that it's actually admin plus 2 additional users. So there's potentially for 3 users, if you're really budget strapped and you want to take advantage of that admin user for your extra 3rd user, you're welcome to do that. And you can say I said that. But that's not enough. What if there's a 4 or 5 person operation that is just getting started? It's a new startup and they want to use a professional tool. We said, hey, we're embracing startups in a big way, especially with AZ disruptors, but we'd like to actually make the product free for startups as well. So we're going to host the first year of OnTime for startups for up to 10 users, absolutely free as well. So if you're a startup company that has been in operation for less than 2 years and you have 10 or fewer employees, you can take advantage of this program. And it's based on the honor system. You simply tell us if you qualify, and if you do, you go and sign up for it. And our little caveat there is that if we find out you lied to us, we're going to cancel your account and you don't have access to your system anymore. And the way we're going to promote this is that it's on Axosoft.com/startups. So you simply have to go directly to this URL, and it's going to be a word of mouth thing. You're not going to see any other mentions on it. About it on our website. So if you like what we're doing here, feel free to tweet about it, blog about it, let other people know, but you're not gonna go to Axosoft.com on the normal homepage and see a link to the startup page. So we're pretty excited about what we're doing there. And if you don't qualify for the 2-user free or the startup program, for 10 users, everybody else who pays will pay $29 a month. We have a plan for the Express that starts at $29 per month for up to 10 users that you can get on. And our professional product starts from $79 per month for 5 users and up. So we have some other pricing plans that address the needs of everybody, sort of from small to large. And that brings us to the third thing that I want to talk about today, which is OnTime Mobile. A couple of years ago, we released OnTime for the iPhone, and we got really great reception to that. People love the iPhone client, but over the past couple of years, the Android phones have gotten a lot of traction, so we keep hearing over and over again, what about Android? What about Android? More recently, we've got Windows Mobile 7 that's starting to pick up a little bit of traction, so we hear, what about Windows Mobile 7? So we decided, hey, we already have an OnTime Windows client, an OnTime Web client, Visual Studio client, Eclipse plugin, iPhone client. The number of clients are starting to increase, so it would be great if we could sort of lump up the mobile ones into one client. And what we did is we went back to the drawing board and we redid the OnTime Mobile from the ground up. Rather than making it an iPhone-only app, we made it a website that's mobile optimized. So now it works in iPhone, Android, and Windows Mobile 7, and we're releasing the beta of OnTime Mobile as of today. So OnTime 11 is in final as of today, but OnTime Mobile Beta is live today as well. So what's cool about OnTime Mobile is that you don't need anything. You simply browse to the same URL that you would go to for accessing OnTime normally on your web browser, but you go to it on your phone and you log in and you get the mobile version of it. And there's a link in case you want to switch back to the desktop version at the bottom of the login page, but essentially you get the mobile version, and I think that's a much better experience for everybody as well. So we're pretty excited about that. Now, when we released the OnTime for iPhone client, we made it a $49 per month edition for everybody, all the users of a particular company. So if you had 100 users, you'd pay $49 a month. If you had 20 users, you'd pay $49 a month to add the iPhone mobile. And we decided to do away with that with the release of OnTime Mobile, and it's going to be free for all users. So if you have OnTime, you have OnTime Mobile. If you have OnTime 11, I should say, you have OnTime Mobile, and everybody, all of your users can access it as well. So those are the three exciting announcements that I had to cover about OnTime 11, and we put together a pretty cool video that shows off some of the capabilities that I'd like to show you right now. So this video is fairly fast-paced and it goes through the features. It's very exciting. I'm happy to sort of introduce it here. So let's go ahead and watch it now. Excited about that, and there's some other videos that are very cool. And if you refresh the home page now, for those of you who are streaming live on our home page, you can't see my screen. I turned off mirroring. Okay, so let me turn on mirroring again. This is our brand new home page, and you can see that video on our home page, as well as another sort of more in-depth video about the making of OnTime 11. So if you're watching the live stream, you can just refresh the homepage of Axosoft.com, and you'll see the new site up and running. We're very excited about OnTime 11. It's the biggest release we've ever had to date, and hope you guys love it as much as we do. Thank you.